What is up, my bodyweight warriors, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to chat to you all about the handstand push-up, and specifically for those of you who are close to that handstand push-up but can't quite figure out how to unlock it yet. I'm going to share with you today a drill that is quite unique in the way it's going to train you to make that last little gap to actually finally attaining the handstand push-up, as well as a little bit of context about how to train it properly. So without further ado, let's jump into today's video. Before that, those of you who are interested in a structured and logical program to get you towards where your goals want to be, we've just dropped the new skill strength program in my app Tribe, which will be available in the link in the description down below. Right, so when it comes to the handstand push-up, like many other bodyweight skills, there is basically one really challenging thing about training it. You either can or you can't. That is kind of the aspect of bodyweight training that is the hardest. You either can do a handstand push-up or you can't do a handstand push-up. And oftentimes the gap between the can't and the can is quite large. And figuring out how to properly progress and bridge this gap is often the challenges that come with bodyweight training. When we have, simpler moves like the bench press, the deadlift, when we're training for it, the move itself doesn't change. A squat is always a squat, a deadlift is always a deadlift, etc. The form is the same. We can just incrementally adjust load to fit our parameters. As I mentioned, we don't have that luxury of bodyweight training, so we have to get smart about how we train it. So before I share with you this drill, let's think about the context in which it's used, and also then why might you use it, because that is ultimately going to be the most important aspect about this drill. So let's first consider how we train for the handstand push-up. Primarily, the handstand push-up can be split into having two main groups in which we can think about training. We've got the strength side of things, and then we have the skill side of things. The strength side of things is the foundation. That is the basis in which we need to develop the skill on, and the thing that most people are going to be working towards. This is going to include stuff as simple as push-ups, to pike push-ups, to then chest to wall handstand push-ups. This is our strength element of essentially being strong enough to overhead press a majority of our body weight. Without this fundamental strength aspect, we don't have a chance of being able to perform the handstand push-up. It is an essential, it is the foundation. However, we can have all the strength in the world, but if we do not have the second part, the skill aspect, we're not going to be able to perform a freestanding handstand push-up. So the skill aspect is essentially balancing, but it's also more than just being able to balance a handstand. Obviously, that is useful, that helps, but it's also about understanding the pattern of a handstand push-up. A handstand push-up isn't just a straight up and down movement, it's actually more of a diagonal groove that we need to get our heads around and understand how to balance and counterbalance different aspects of our body to be able to perform it efficiently. I remember struggling for a long period of time with the handstand push-up just simply because I didn't understand this groove, this pattern that was important for when you want to become efficient. So getting this down as well as having that strength fundamentals, that together makes the handstand push-up. So with this in mind, let's talk about today's drill. Now, today's drill is, yes, somewhat a strength building exercise, but it's primarily focused around that skills and pattern aspect that often gets overlooked with the handstand push-up. Traditionally, we're going to train the handstand push-up, the skills aspects of things, with negatives. We're going to kick up into a handstand, we're going to lower as slowly as we can down into the bottom of a handstand push-up position, we then come back onto our feet, we rinse, repeat, keep doing that. This is a nice way to learn, it has its benefits, but what it does miss is that concentric action, the pushing back up aspect. We get very good at lowering into our handstand, but we don't get very good at lifting back up. Obviously, if we're doing the handstand push-up on the wall, we're going to be doing some concentric work, but understanding how to apply force when you have to then consider the balance aspect, the instability aspect is another thing. We need to train that aspect specifically, really to unlock the handstand push-up. So this is where the drill comes in. The drill is a concentric only headstand push-up. To do this drill, there is several different stages. I'm going to go through all the different stages we can go through, how you can modify it, how to do it correctly, as well as some really useful form cues. But essentially the drill is starting in a headstand position. We're going to get that nice tripod base with our hands on our head. And then from here, we just press up into the handstand. This is just the concentric only aspect of the handstand push-up. What it teaches really nicely is several key ingredients that is going to help you perfect that pattern. Now, you may be looking at this and thinking that is quite a jump. Again, this is the issue, the jump between like a pike push-up, a chest to wall handstand push-up, and then doing this is quite large. Let me explain how we're going to bridge that gap. So the first and the easiest variation we're going to use is a back to wall version. So we're going to kick up into a starting headstand position, back to wall. From here, we just press up into that handstand position. I know that sounds simple, but essentially that is what it is. There is a couple of useful form cues which I think you might want to consider, which also feeds into why this drill is so effective. One of the main mistakes that I see when people do the handstand push-up is they just kind of fall back onto their feet when they try to push up. And one of the main reasons for this is they don't maintain a vertical or perpendicular angle of the forearm to the ground. They let those elbows drop back and it almost becomes like a body weight tricep extension, which is much heavier, much harder to balance. They lose that balance, that center position, and they just fall out. What this headstand push-up concentric only teaches you is to stay forward when you're in that pressing position, because we already set up in that good tripod bottom position of a handstand push-up. We're already forward with the shoulders. We're already keeping the weight forward. As we press up, we're doing that anyway, and it's going to help us keep those forearms vertical and apply more force and more power with that handstand push-up position. If we don't stay forward with the shoulders, we're not going to be able to counterbalance the legs because our legs go into a diagonal position. Therefore, we're going to fall out of the handstand push-up. The second form cue to consider with this exercise is more about how we're going to apply force. A common deadlift cue that is given is, rather than trying to think about picking the weight up, you want to imagine that you're being pulled up from your head by a piece of string. I find that the same is useful for the handstand push-up in this particular instance. Instead of thinking about trying to push the ground away from us, try to think that somebody has attached a piece of string to your feet and is pulling you out of that headstand position by the feet. This way, we're going to get some form of heel drive and end up in that back to wall position. This complements that whole staying forward, staying over the hands position as well, but it also gets us to use some of the lower back and some of the other muscles on the back to help with that pushing strength. It's all about improving the pattern. So keep the shoulders forward, drive the heels to the wall. That's the two things you want to think about when you're doing this drill. If you can't perform this drill on the wall, then basically that first principle, that strength element is just not strong enough. At the moment, you need to go back, do more pike push-ups, do more chest to wall handstand push-ups, get that strong, then move on to this drill. Once we're able to perform 3 or 4 reps in this position, we get a little bit more comfortable with the pattern, a little bit more comfortable with our understanding of how this goes about. We can then take this to the freestanding position. The same drill essentially applies. We're just not gonna have that wall to catch us. However, when we're performing this drill, we wanna think about that same thing. We wanna think about keeping forward. We wanna think about those heels driving over the top. That is essentially what we're after with this drill. If you can do these on the wall, but you're struggling to stick these together on the floor, what I would recommend doing is performing these at partial range of motion. So instead of having the head all the way on the floor, doing the full range of motion, just start with a headstand position with the head on, say, a yoga block. Reducing the range of motion slightly reduces the strength requirement. It's going to make it a little bit easier, less to travel, less to balance, less to figure out, and it just helps you get some reps in until you figure out the full range of motion on this drill. I expect you to then start falling more over the hands rather than back onto the feet like most people do originally. And then it comes down to trial and error. We're eventually going to find that middle ground between falling back onto the feet and falling over. And hey presto, we have the handstand push-up. But that's basically it, a nice simple drill, but it fills in that missing link for a lot of people with the handstand push-up. It teaches the pattern, which is so important. That is the big jump from chest to wall handstand push-ups to wall handstand push-ups and freestanding. The strength requirement isn't the same. You don't suddenly get heavier when you come off the wall. What changes is the pattern and understanding how to apply the force with balance. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you do want some more structured help to work towards your handstand push-up, front lever, planche, one arm chin up, then as I said, we have the new skill strength program, 5 different levels of periodized programming for you to work on your skills. That is available in my app Tribe, as well as access to the members forum to ask questions and submit form clips, etc. That'll be in the top link in the description down below. Whilst you're down there, you can always hit that thumbs up button to support the channel, support the YouTube algorithm, and help this video get to more people, help more people out towards that handstand push-up. If you want to help those people out as well and, you know, leave your 2 cents. What is your favorite handstand push-up progression? And what did you think of the video? Please leave a comment in the comments section down below. You can also hit that subscribe button if you want to join the Bodyweight Warrior Tribe, and don't miss out any more future videos that's coming on this channel. But other than that, that is basically it for this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week, and peace.